What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Bot Podcast, where we interview movers, shakers, and innovators and talk all things conversational user interfaces. I'm your host, Chad Oda, and today we have a very special guest, Amanda Stevens. Amanda is the Key Account Manager at Master of Code. Master of Code is an innovation consultancy specializing in AI-driven technology and conversational solutions. Their portfolio ranges from startups to global clients, including NPOs, telecoms, consumer goods, and luxury brands. Previously, she has held positions at Bright Labs and Cohesive Marketing. Amanda also recently spoke at the Global Chatbot Summit Conference in Berlin. So at that, Amanda, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Very exciting to be here.
So before we roll into more of the chatbot voice specific questions, I always like to ask a unique question based upon our guest background. So this is a question I actually hear quite a lot. And, so I was looking at your background and I saw that your background was primarily entrepreneurism, business, and marketing. So for a person that's not coming from like the technical side of things, how did you pivot into the conversational AI space? And do you have any tips for people that also are sort of from the business side and they're interested in sort of getting into this space as well?
Sure. So I started out, my very kind of first job post-university was doing social media. So it was a social media manager. This is when, we had to make our brand Facebook page a personal page because Facebook pages weren't even out yet. So, being in kind of the marketing and advertising space, it's always been with digital in mind. And it wasn't a massive leap going from digital marketing and digital advertising to just tech itself. I was excited to do it because it's just more fascinating. It's a growing space. Ad agencies, there's a lot of them out there and it's a very saturated market. So definitely happy I took the leap. For people who are kind of considering moving into the space, I can tell you it's ever changing. It's exciting. You get to be part of an evolving market. You get to, hopefully have the opportunity to be at a company where you're doing things that nobody else is doing. So it's very appealing, and I'm learning all the time. So I highly recommend the space.
Cool. No, I love it. I think maybe a good segue is talking about MOC and the company where you are at today, doing a lot of cool stuff in the chatbot and voice space. So specific to MOC, what is their vision and where are they trying to take the company?
Sure. So we are aiming and striving to be one of the top 10 conversational solution companies in the world. Like you said, we have a myriad of clients ranging from different industries, but we're really focusing on those, those large enterprise clients, and we have quite a few of them. And it's not just chat, we're moving into voice. We're working on Apple Business Chat projects. We're doing projects with Stripe, Apple Pay, really immersive experience. And, we want to continue to grow that. We want to be the leaders in that space.
Definitely. I think, there's just been so much that has gone on in the last 4 or 5 years around this space, like maybe back in 2015, we saw all this hype and some of it didn't really come to fruition, but now we see a lot of great companies pushing out really good implementations and the business outcomes really being very good. So that being said, just looking out across the landscape of startups and enterprise companies, what sort of demand are you guys seeing today versus, a couple years ago when we saw a lot of that hype? And what are stakeholders sort of looking for in the space?
Sure. So like you said, there was a huge hype and a bunch of companies wanted to be involved and get into the space really quickly. And not that there's so many bot builders out there, there's so many platforms, something, you still have to code like Microsoft Bot Framework or these plug and play platforms that are quite simple to create. The world knows that chatbots are out there. Now it's how do we get ahead? How do our chat experiences or conversational experiences, how do they rise above everyone else? And that is an elevation in the experience. So we're getting, you talk about what demand we're getting, a lot of voice. We want, brands want immersive experiences, like augmented reality is really huge now. We're getting so many requests for that. And voice, of course, is growing now that the space is becoming a lot more sophisticated. So it's really these larger brands that, how can I make the conversational experience so seamless? How can I have an elegant experience of, someone being handed over to an agent? There's a lot of clunky experiences out there, and it's really about refining. I think, like I said, chat's out there, and people build bots quickly and they put it out there into the universe for people to check out. But it's really about refining the experience and giving it that elevation of a strong performing conversational experience.
No, absolutely. It's really good to hear that sort of reassuring information, because it's like, I think stakeholders' sentiments were sort of all over the place. Like, some of them were super ahead of the curve and they're building experiences and they have dedicated teams internally. And then you have some companies sort of sitting on the sidelines and they're sort of waiting to see like what's actually tangible. And then there's companies sort of in the middle that are like, hey, we know we have to do something, but who do we talk to? How do we implement it? And like, why is this actually important? So it's good to see that we're beginning to see that shift within the mind state of a lot of these stakeholders. So that's always really cool. So sort of getting to tangibility, which, I know MLC has done a really good job working with, small businesses and enterprises and telcos and, anything and everything within the space. I think people today are really looking for evidence. They're looking for how are brands actually implementing these technologies. So can you maybe touch on a couple of success stories and then what specifically you guys had learned from those?
Sure. I totally agree with you. When we kind of look at what case studies are out there, it's, hey, we put out an experience, we got really high engagement at the end. So it is, it's interesting, either there aren't a lot of case studies out there, maybe there aren't a lot of success stories, or people are just not willing to share. But I'm happy to share one that campaign we actually just finished. This is the fourth campaign we've done. It's a global skincare and hair beauty brand. And the use case that we want to create the experience on is booking complimentary services through an appointment booking bot. So you go to the bot, you answer a series of questions, you choose the store nearest you, you choose the service that you want, maybe like a free mini facial, that was the popular one. And then, it's all sends you a confirmation, you go into the store and, you get to experience the product. So this is the fourth time we've done it. And, I think it's so important for companies to do A/B experimentations and, try doing campaigns, and if they don't work out, take a look back at the data and refine it and do it again. I think it's, if we just stopped the first time we did it, we wouldn't see the results that we currently have today. So we lock down the use case. That's super important, to articulate the value to the users and make sure there's a clear connection to the business of, what you're offering to your clients and what the bot experience is going to be like. Also be reactive with NLP. So when we launched it, it said, the ad said free facial. And then you got to the welcome message, it said free facial. And we had over 100 queries in the first week, people asking, how much does this cost? Because a lot of people, they don't read. Yeah. Especially with chat, they kind of see, they click, click, click. So we didn't train the bot to answer that query because we thought it was so clear, it's so obvious. So immediately, within the first week, we trained the bot and it was able to answer users' queries. We also added in this fourth iteration, users were, instead of hitting a quick reply button, they were typing it out, and that would break the bot experience. What day do you want? They would type Thursday. Thursday on its own doesn't really mean much. So we created, another block to remind the user, do you want to continue booking? Please click below. Kind of that reinforcement, because it's so easy to break bot flows when users kind of type queries the bot doesn't necessarily understand. So we experimented and refined this. So the conversion rate when we started doing this was 21%. We've moved it to 33%. We've increased bookings by 556%. We've had almost 7,000 bookings in just a 2-month campaign. So that's all from just, experimentation, A/B testing, even testing the ad creative made a huge difference. So yeah, we've been really, really pleased with this one.
Yeah, I think most marketers would be. I mean, like, you show any marketer those type of conversion metrics and their jaw is just going to drop on the floor. It's, it's just phenomenal, the amount of, things we can do on this channel, being Facebook Messenger, and the automation that we can build on top of it. So going deeper into this, I want to go back a little bit with this use case. What was sort of the drivers which drove MOC and the client collectively to this solution? Like, why were they excited about this channel? Were they already on Facebook Messenger? Were they already receiving a lot of messages prior to that? Like, paint sort of the picture of how this sort of solution got constructed from the ground up.
Sure. So they have millions of fans on Facebook, and they get, of course, a lot of direct messages every day. But they saw an opportunity. We pitched them, look, you have these complimentary services. They're not well promoted on your website. You have to kind of find it. It's hidden. You have to fill out a form, and especially on a mobile phone, you have to click into the field. It zooms in, then zooms out. It's a part of their business they want to grow, because it's so great. You have people come in, that's foot traffic in your stores. You get to put the products on their face for skincare, for example, or on their scalp if it's kind of a hair care product, and have that real personalized experience. That's so hard to do today, I think, with getting people to kind of come to your store just to experiment. So it's a really nice value added. You get a really nice personalized experience, get to know their products a little bit better, and hopefully become a long-term customer. So we pitched them this appointment booking bot, and it really aligned with their need of wanting to expand these, promote these complimentary experiences that they've had for a number of years, but no one really knew about it. I'm a customer of the brand myself. I had no idea they existed. So, the bot we built has a very limited use case. There's customer service, NLP training we've done on it, and there's, the customers or the user has the ability to leave a message, and their live agents will answer their questions. But predominantly it's an appointment booking bot, and we wanted to do it and do it really well. And, now speaking with the brand, they want to do this on a regular basis because the results have been so great.
Cool. No, I think that's awesome to hear. So if I understand correctly, was this more of like a sort of an opportunity they were trying to fill in regards to leveraging a chatbot to drive more revenue versus a cost saving use case? Was it more of a revenue generation use case, it sounds like to me?
Yeah, definitely. Even though the services are complementary, what we do in line with these campaigns and promotions, we have a gift with purchase offer as well. So you get the foot traffic into the store, and if they like the products and they spend X amount of money, they get an additional free product. So there's been a direct impact in sales. From the last campaign, a significant amount, which is great. And we pitched the bot as, look, you want to grow this part of your business. It's definitely connected to increasing your client base, increasing your brand awareness, brand education, and also in turn sales. So definitely it was with profit and brand first.
Cool, very cool. So I know from a previous conversation we had, right, we're not just excited about Facebook Messenger and chatbots, but also the notion that, this channel can be integrated with Facebook ad units. And I know you had mentioned to me previously that this was like a huge component to this sort of campaign that you had pitched to this brand. And can you talk a little bit more about sort of the ad side of things and how you sort of drove the traffic into the bot experience?
Yeah, this campaign, for example, it is the perfect example to share with other brands that, just because you put a chatbot out there doesn't mean people will come. Promotion is, if you put a little bit of paid spend behind it, it's amazing what kind of results you can see. You can promote it organically or maybe add a little blurb about it in your e-newsletter. But we've seen if you put paid social behind messenger chatbots, for example, the results have been excellent in terms of engagement and really getting as many people as you can to experience the bot and give you feedback. If it's, asking questions in the bot, what is the bot not trained on yet? How can we make this better? Where are people getting stuck? So that's really great. Like I mentioned before, A/B test your creative. So using the case study again as an example, the first time we did it, we had a gallery that showed, the 6 different steps of the facial you would get. But it didn't really promote it that it was free, just in the ad copy. but not from a visual point of view. And so many people ask, how much is this? How much is this? So we did another test where we had free part of the image in the copy, didn't have the 6 steps, just kind of just one visual to look at. And all of a sudden we started getting queries. How long is this? How many steps is it? So we even added it's a 20-minute, facial experience. And then users were unsure, well, what's that gonna look like? Is it gonna be like a professional thing? So really interesting insights just from slight changes in visual creative. So A/B testing creative is absolutely key. Also clearly identify and add to your creative the offer, if it's an offer, or what exactly the user is going to get, and further communicate that in the welcome message. So if you have a statement, an offer, a message in the ad creative, reiterate it once they enter, because they're going from, say, Facebook or Instagram into the messenger space. In that transition, it's always great to remind the user, okay, this is what's happening, this is what you're about to get, or this is what you're about to learn. And then, it just reaffirms, because people will get click happy and go, oh, this is cool, this is a fun ad, what's this all about? So reiteration is definitely key.
Cool,
And,
definitely.
yeah.
As far as, it sounds like to me that, especially with the messaging channel, I think you're pointing out that people seem to skim through the copy. They skim through the experience. So what you're saying is that a very good best practice is making sure that that sort of message is reiterated multiple times down that entire campaign experience.
Definitely. And it does sound a bit trivial, and maybe when you read it and your editors are looking at it going, you're kind of repeating yourself, but people need that. And where we've kind of skimmed down on the copy and haven't repeated ourselves or reiterated or reinforced really important areas that people may care about, it's affected the performance of the campaign and the conversion rates as well. Going back to this particular example where we had free in the ad, free in the welcome message, users were still getting, halfway through, they're about to book and they're like, wait, how much is this? And, we had trained the bot to kind of answer the question, but again, it deviates away from the booking process. They kind of have to go back in. So we've added the word free and complimentary all the way through the bot experience. And that's made quite a difference.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that, maybe also goes back to, pre-existing UX best practices too, right? UX best practices that are sometimes, synonymous, not just with chatbots, but I just think, with websites and mobile applications, and it's like really designing that happy path and then like sort of trying to play within the parameters, it sounds like. And it's like, okay, well, if this is the happy path, we want to get them to book an appointment. So what we need to do is like reiterate the most important things as many times as possible, right? So that's really cool to hear that. Something that I've recognized, and definitely would like to hear your insights about this. It seems to me that a lot of health, wellness, and beauty brands are beginning to leverage chatbots. Is there like some sort of significant opportunity in this vertical specifically that I think we're not seeing in other places? Because we see Sephora's bot. I've seen several other high-profile makeup and beauty companies doing this. Is there something within just the marketing journey that makes chatbots a good fit for something like this?
Sure. So in beauty especially, there's two things. I think the two biggest thing with beauty brands, and other industries face these same challenges, but when you go into any beauty brand store, maybe it's just the one brand store or Sephora, you're overwhelmed with products. They all have different uses, they have different benefits, they address certain concerns. It's hard to get that foot traffic in the store when we're very much online all the time. So AR is a big one for beauty brands. Sephora's already doing it. We're really excited about Facebook's, add to AR experience, where users will be able to try something on and then buy it all within the bot experience. And the other side where chatbots really fill in a gap is customer service. We see, from the beauty brands that we manage their chatbots and the chatbots we built, there's constant, where's my order? Question about my profile, my account. I didn't get the points attached to my order, or are you getting this back in stock? I really love this product. Have you looked at it? It's all these product queries, so much also about their orders. Orders are a huge one. So that customer service piece of the bot, where a lot of frequently asked questions can be automated, because we're all busy. We don't have time maybe to always wait for an agent. If it's a simple question that a bot can answer. So I think customer service is a huge one, and as well as the ability to try things on. That's definitely a growing space.
Definitely. Well, I guess I probably need to do my research in the makeup and beauty space. But, I think you mentioned something that I want to dig into a little bit more. So talking about customer service, right? Customer support, customer service, right? Not only beneficial for health, wellness, and sort of beauty brands, but also just across the industry.
Everyone.
So many results around this. And like, this was like the top use case everyone was like talking about, right?
Yeah.
And let's maybe talk about other case studies in this space as well, because I know that you guys have worked with some pretty high profile clients in this area. So if you have any other customer support, customer service related use cases, I know our viewers would love to learn about it.
Sure. So I can give you an example of a large telco in the US, their chatbot that we service. So customer service, when we were building the bot, customer service is a really important component, and to have really a nice, elegant, and seamless way of a bot to agent handover. Before we started, they had 15 agents, always on agents. Since the bot has launched, they've now only have 2. And that's because the bot has been able to speak to the questions, answer them in an automated way, or at least lead them to the right place where they can learn more. So that's been a massive, an exciting piece that's come with it. And I mean, even last month alone, we had 5,000 chats with an agent. We had 64,000 new users, and they also have an appointment booking piece to the bot where you can set up an appointment with a sales representative of a store. So you can, because every time I go to kind of, update my plan or see what else is out there, those agents are always busy in the store. So it's great to have that set up ahead of time, easily, a few steps on a chatbot, and then, go to a standalone store and have someone there waiting for you to give you that, that personalized meeting that's so hard to get sometimes if you just walk in.
100%. So you talked about a couple use cases, it sounds like, with this specific company here. One of them was the customer support, and I think most people sort of, it's a well-established use case. But the other one you were sort of hinting at as well was sort of a more sort of like customer-centric, sales-driven one, sort of similar to the last use case, where it's like we're trying to book appointments. We're trying to get people, to move from the online experience and show up in store, right? So I see this trend, whereas, where we're trying to get people from Messenger to show up in some physical location. So can you talk about that sort of experience a bit more with this specific customer?
Yeah, sure. So appointments are definitely one way that kind of can drive sales and get users to learn more about their products and their offerings and their plans. This particular chatbot, you can actually view the latest deals. You can buy a phone if you want to. It's quite an expensive purchase, but you can definitely do it. So yeah, this e-commerce side, I think, is definitely going to continue to grow, especially when you have platforms like Apple Business Chat coming out, where you go from ad to chat, Apple Pay, click a button, one and done, it's yours. So yeah, sales and the e-commerce side of things is definitely going to continue to grow.
Yeah, definitely. It's that new buzzword we continue to hear, conversational commerce. But I think you bring up a really good point, specifically with Apple Business Chat, in regards to like the seamless experience we can have on something like that platform. And I think like the core functionality really is the fact that Apple Pay is integrated into that. We see
it's too easy to use.
it's too easy to use. It could almost be dangerous, right? Whereas on Messenger, right, we have, ways to, run some sort of payment processing, but it's just not as seamless of an experience.
Yeah, with that web view, unfortunately. Yeah.
Right.
So I think Apple Business Chat will definitely disrupt. I could tell you right now. I mean, just what we're working on for some of these clients, very disruptive, especially the AR piece. You know, you open Apple Business to see an ad, open Apple Business Chat, hey, do you want to try this on? AR experience is open. You can test the product in a kind of a digital immersive way and go, yep, buy. Credit card's ready in the phone. Sure, it's on your way.
Totally. So we talked about a couple channels so far, right? We talked about Facebook Messenger, and I think for most companies operating on the B2C side of things, this has been sort of top of mind for them.
Right.
Whether it was deploying it in channel or deploying it on their website. And then we have things such as Apple Business Chat, which it sounds like you guys are certainly very bullish on. And then RCS. So are you guys doing anything with RCS, which is sort of the, for our viewers that aren't as familiar with it, it's essentially SMS 2.0. And the large telcos, in addition to Google, are beginning to try and push this thing out into the space. Is there any specific interest around RCS, RBM right now, or is that sort of still a channel maybe you guys are looking into?
We're definitely looking into it. We've received a few kind of inquiries about it. SMS marketing it's been around for a while, and I'm excited, how RCS is going to like make it that much better, because I don't think it had when SMS kind of marketing first came out, it didn't have a good go. I feel like, just like the Apple Air laptop, I think it's going to come back even better. So we are getting into the space a little bit at the moment. So yeah, just kind of feeling it out and seeing, is it solving an additional problem that maybe these other platforms aren't? But yeah, it's very exciting.
Totally. Yeah, I think just from this conversation so far, I think the common thread is really, go out there, test things, make sure there's value, and make sure to A/B test to be able to iterate very quickly. So that being said, right, because there is ambiguity in this space, right, this is an emerging space, right? That being said, there are pockets where we are seeing significant value, and business outcomes are being driven on this like enormous scale that maybe is sort of akin to the initial rise of mobile or the initial rise of web. So that being said, what are some like current obstacles, challenges you see in this space? It can be specific to chatbots or voice or conversational UX or the NLP side of things. What do you see are sort of significant challenges that, smart people such as yourself and people at MOC and, throughout the industry have to work on to sort of get to that next stage?
Sure. It's, well, the number one thing that comes to mind is, we're still very much leaning on these platforms. You can build an amazing bot that does amazing things, but if that platform that isn't your own, which is Messenger, conks out, changes something that breaks your API connection, does an update overnight that makes your client's bot go offline, that's super challenging. So being in the space that we're in, where we're leveraging all these amazing platforms out there and building these amazing experiences, the platforms are far from perfect. There's still outages, updates that can happen, and that affects, our clients, right? So that's challenging, and it's out of our control too. So I think being okay with it and learning how to work with it and aligning expectations with the client, I think that's really important. And also, conversational, like we've talked about, it's been around for a few years, yet when it comes to NLP, still very limited. I read an article the other day that Google doubled their actions in the last year, but they still have 22% less skills or actions than Alexa. So there's still a lot of limitations. When it comes to context, I think that's going to be really big in the next year or two, about more, NLP engines and voice, really investing a lot in context. Because when humans speak, we don't repeat everything we're talking about. We say, how's your trip? And you go, it's great. Is it hot there, right? Where am I talking about? Rather than, is it hot where you are in your trip? Right. So that's, I think that's going to be massive. And I think a lot more work still needs to be done with the limitations in context that we deal with now. We have to be really strategic on how we answer users' questions. If they use a lot of context or don't use a lot of context, how can we kind of answer their question or send them to where they want to go. So yeah, that I think being, leaning on other platforms and kind of working, if they do something, you have to work really quickly. If there's a bug, you have to react really quickly and kind of always kind of being on them. That is important. And then, yeah, I'm really excited for a lot of work needs to be done with NLP, a lot of advancements. I think the big players in the space recognize, like the platforms, recognize what needs to be done, and they just need to make it happen.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with your sentiment. I think, it's a very pragmatic sentiment because we hear, two polarizing sides. On one side, we hear people say, bots are going to solve everything and the AI is great and all this stuff. And, they're really hype, right? And it's just like ridiculous, right? And then on the other side of things, you see people saying bots don't work at all. Don't use them. They're not good. But I think, we're in this middle ground. And I think in order to make really good experience, it's playing to the limitations that exist now, playing to them and adapting to them, and then ultimately building experiences and evolving those experiences, right? And it's playing in this middle space right now. But that being said, we sort of talked about the obstacles. Let's talk about what does ML where do you see the vision of chatbots and voice just within the next 12 months? Things are moving super fast.
They are. So I touched on them a little bit, but AR, rise in AR, super excited about that. Also, these other chat platforms like Apple Business Chat, it's in beta right now. We are fortunate enough to be working on it already. So these other platforms that are kind of, carefully taking their time, want to make sure they're really refining the experience and then releasing it to the public. I'm also super excited, and everyone else too at MOC, is just the rise in purchases. Apple Pay, for example, WhatsApp, I think, is looking into, they've done some testing with purchasing kind of through the platform already. Facebook payments are in beta. So we're going to see, I think, a lot more just a hype in and people using these conversational platforms to purchase. And that also goes in to voice as well. I think voice has a huge opportunity to kind of be a big platform for repeat purchases. You don't need to see it, you don't need to feel it. I just need to reorder, my shampoo. I need to reorder, my groceries or something that I get every week. Voice is excellent for that because you just like, hey, please reorder it, and it'll get it done. So definitely purchases, more immersive experiences with AR, and then of course NLP. I mean, that's like I said, with context, I think a lot more NLP platforms are really going to invest a lot in context. And you saw that with Google's I/O 2018, where the bot called a hair salon and booked an appointment, and there was no human involved, and that was using context the entire time, or leveraging context the entire time. So yeah, I think that's really exciting as well.
Yeah, definitely. That was sort of like a shots fired moment, I think, within the space. It's like they didn't even go on that sort of step-by-step path. Google just goes totally automated, it's by Barber, it doesn't even say that it's a bot, right? Yeah. And then we began
the ums and the ahs in there, which are great, 12 p.m.
See, that's the interesting thing, right? It's like, I hear you, right? It's like ASR is super important, NLP is super important, context management is really important, right? It's like addressing non sequiturs, right? Where we're talking about this, and then we could be talking about, what the temperature is in Barcelona, and then come back and we're on the same page, right? Bots, it can be done, but it's just not the most scalable thing to do, right? It's very time intensive today. And, it's really funny because it's like very similar models that had exist from an algorithmic standpoint were developed in the 1980s, and that's what platforms are built on today. So, I think you're right. I think within the next 12 months, we're about to see some really exciting things. I wanted to touch back on a couple of things. The first thing is, you said we're beginning to see purchases, right? And I think this is a really important tipping point for chatbots and voice, right? Because I think people saw it as, hey, it's an adjunct channel. Maybe you can save some money, doing customer support. But when you start driving revenue, I think that personally is where people begin to pay attention. So could you maybe, dive a little deeper into that in specifics in regarding to where are you guys seeing purchasing done? Is it on the e-commerce side? Is it like the services side? Like, what does that look like?
Sure. I mean, e-commerce for sure, absolutely. Any kind of purchases that you regularly do, you need to refill something or buy it on a regular basis. That can be automated, right? Because you regularly do it. So I think that'll be really big. I was looking at a study, and I think there's a certain number where users are kind of comfortable spending. I don't think they're going to be spending thousands of dollars just, from a click of a button on their phone. I think eventually we'll get there. But as this is a new and emerging space, I think, lower priced items, maybe like around the $100 level or less, or a couple $100s. I think that users will kind of be comfortable doing that, and then it'll grow from there, especially as these the ways of purchasing become more refined and more elegant. So I definitely kind of see it starting from there and growing on the e-commerce side of things.
Definitely. You also, touched upon another point in specific to conversational commerce and seeing revenue, and, also talking about voice. What's MOC's take on sort of multimodality, right? I think, and this is something that a lot of the larger vendors start talking about now, the Amazons, LivePersons, which is about, the interface no longer becomes as relevant as the message. So it's sort of like this melding between displays and voice and chat. How does MOC sort of look at that ecosystem, and how are you guys sort of positioning in that space?
Sure. I think it comes really down to the conversation or the experience of the conversation. When you're taking away the interface, when there's nothing, a beautiful website to look at, or you're looking at even other forms of advertising, like a gorgeous billboard or something. In order for people to engage in a conversational experience, it has to be a nice conversation, an experience that I want to. If I'm going to talk to a bot or talk to a voice bot or chat with a chatbot, I want to enjoy it. So that's where we have, our UX team, our conversational writers team. They have to have a lot of nuance. They have to really, take the brand voice and kind of put it in an engaging, eloquent, or edgy. It really depends on the brand, and take that brand voice and put it in a way where people will want to converse with it. There's plenty of examples on the internet where we've seen fails where brands have gone too far, too edgy, and people go, this isn't fun anymore, and you've taken it too far. So I think that's continues to be a challenge with everyone who's doing conversational commerce and conversational experiences out there. It just has to be a great time for the user to engage with. It just has to be fun, or seamless or efficient. It really depends on what you're offering, but the user has to want to use it. It's as simple as that.
100%, because it's like, this channel is like the most intimate channel that marketers or brands have been able to ever leverage, right? So it's like, you have to really ensure that experience is a good one, right? Yeah. And, like you said, like there are countless examples online of brands unfortunately jumping the guns on things, and people just walking away with a really bad taste. So,
and they won't come back. It'll take them a really long time to be pulled back.
100%. So completely agree with that sentiment as far as where you guys sort of see, not only chatbots and voice, but sort of the combination of that and like how to think about it in the space. Last point I wanted to mention that is in regards to what you said was, being very bullish on AR, right? And getting to see the application within the space of chatbots and voice. Because I think for a long time, we've heard AR. We saw a really good implementation in the Sephora bot, which I think, to me personally, is probably one of the most, relevant experiences. That was very much not like, these developers saying, hey, we're just going to add on this thing. It was super beneficial to that user experience. So what are you guys specifically excited about AR? If you can maybe talk about any things that may be looming on the horizon for you guys as far as projects, would love to hear that.
Sure. Ooh, what can I share? So AR, like you said, we have a bunch of clients where the trying on aspect is really appealing to them and really relevant. We know from the retail side, like foot traffic has gone down over the years. Malls are in trouble. So from a retail, brand point of view, that's really exciting. Also from the, thinking of home, like putting, how does this dining room table look in my room, or how does this couch look, or how does this art look? That's really exciting. AR is really great for that. And I mean, the whole just like fun brand filters that, millennials or even younger people they're still, I don't think that's going to go away. I think that's really great. Just a really fun way for users to share your brand if it's a branded experience, or just kind of a fun filter to kind of promote a certain product or a piece of your brand. So I think that's going to stick around. So yeah, AR trying on, setting pieces of furniture in a room, or just any way that you can take an object or take a thing and make it part of your environment is really appealing, and people love that. And with the AR studios that we're using and leveraging, they're getting so much better. So just like even the texture on some of these objects and effects that you can add is really exciting. So it'll just be a much better experience. So I'm really excited about that. In terms of, what else we're excited about? Yeah, Apple Business Chat we're really pumped about that one. I can't wait for that to be, I've brought it up a bunch of times, but no, really excited to see more of that. And working with the bigger players on the live agent handover experience, customer service, like we talked about, is so important, even though as we continue to automate so many pieces of a conversational experience, people still love talking to humans at the end of the day. So being able to do that in a kind of a seamless way is, we're pumped about that, because like I said, there's clunky experiences out there, but brands are getting better, and there's platforms that are a lot better at doing it. That's been really exciting for us.
Cool. No, I think you actually jumped us right to our next topic, so I love it.
Okay,
So, we're talking sort of about the future, and you sort of pulled it back to the present a little bit, right? It's like bots today, for the most part, cannot stand alone. Just with the bot, human intervention is still a necessity, right? So, along that line of thought, can you guys share any other best practices when it comes to bot building voice experiences? What do those best practices look like?
Sure. So I would say before you draft anything, ask yourself, if you're a bot builder and you're working on a brand, ask yourself, what use case is this satisfying? Am I solving a problem? Especially if you're doing a multi-platform solution, does it make sense to replicate the chat solution and just replicate it to voice? We would say probably not. One of our, again, another beauty brand, we have a chatbot that does a lot of customer service pieces, but their voice bot, because they're a holistic beauty brand, they have a meditation app. So, you want to make your customers use both platforms, right? So what use cases are you satisfying? Is it slightly better than what exists? Does it make sense to have a, satisfy use case when you can refine the same use case on another platform like the website or something like that? When it comes to designing the conversational experience, literally draw it out. That's how we do it with everything. It's so easy to start developing and kind of just go from here to here to here. Have that bird's eye view. It sounds really trivial, but we think it's absolutely essential, because it's very easy to miss something if you don't have the bird's eye view of all the different ways for customers to get to where they want to go. Or having multiple ways to get to the same place is essential as well. Also spend significant time on your NLP matrix. What do you want the bot to do? Of all the things the bot can do, if someone asks, instead of clicking a button to get there, if a user asks about that particular thing, can the bot take you there using NLP? Or how many small talks are you going to have? And just really spend a lot of time in your NLP matrix, and don't make it too complex. Simplify it first, and then regularly check what people are asking of the bot or what they're saying to the bot and refine it. Like I said, we saw a trend in users asking about a particular thing in the bot, like how much was the free facial, how much is it? And we immediately took those user inputs and trained into the bot. That's really important. And good copywriting. Like I said, at the end of the day, you got to make a conversational experience so great that people want to use it and they want to experience it and they want to talk to the bot. So good conversational copywriting is essential. Make it fun. Make sure it aligns with the messaging that's already out there by the brand. If the brand is kind of a luxury brand and has an elevation to how they present themselves, make sure that matches. But yeah, just make it really engaging so people want to come back over and over again.
Cool. Just recapping your points real quick for the audience here. You said number one is ensure that the use case is beneficial for the platform it's on. That was a really good point, because it's like we see too many times companies say, hey, well, we have an email sequence. We're just going to put that in our chatbot and in our SMS campaign. And the way that you guys are thinking about it from the context of, hey, well, with voice, meditation makes more sense with voice versus putting it in a chatbot or taking the chatbot experience and just duplicating it across channels. So I think that was really pertinent. Number two, you had said, when you're designing these flows or these conversation flows, map it out. It's like having the bird's eye view can give you an idea of where you guys may need to go or what might be missing or what's actually working. And then you said number three, and I want to dig into this a little bit more after, with NLP, don't overcomplicate it when you start off, right? Keep the NLP matrix simple, and then iterate from there as you sort of see real results from your customers. That will sort of drive, what are additional intensor entities or even context that needs to go into the bot. And then number four, have good conversational copywriting, right?
Yeah.
You need to adhere to the brand and the persona of the brand. And if you don't do that, you could end up with like these very convoluted experiences where it's like a luxury brand is talking like, not like a luxury brand would talk, right? So
lots of emojis and comical and
exactly 100%.
Or it just comes off robotic, which you don't want either.
Right, totally. And I think that was something I'd heard from someone. It's like, would you text your friend this, right? Just at a super basic level, it's just like if you wouldn't send them a paragraph that's like super business heavy language, like you shouldn't do it in a chatbot or voice, right? That being said, just diving into NLP a little bit more, because I had a chance to catch some of your talk in Berlin at Chatbot Summit, and you sort of delved into some of the nuances in regards to NLP. And I think, natural language processing for many people is still a gray area in regards to when should we use it, when shouldn't we use it, and if we are going to use it, how do we optimize it, right? How many, what's best practice in regards to how many intents and entities we should start with, how do we optimize it, and are there best practice with optimizing it? And I know at MOC you guys do a lot of that. Just diving into that bit a little bit more.
Sure. So it's essential to have, if your bot, say, has 3 streams, maybe a customer service stream, a product stream, and maybe a services stream, that the way you get there is by clicking buttons throughout the way. You need to make sure that you have intents trained into the bot so that if a person asks to see those products, those services, or asks to speak to a customer, they can get there using NLP. So anything that you have on the bot as part of the bot's flow, you need to be able to get to those parts of the bot using NLP. That's number one. Number two, small talks are so important. There's the bots out there that have like, tell me a joke, and the bot will tell them a joke. I think it's important to have your main ones, your greetings, your farewells, your thank yous, customer service. Absolutely have customer service. If it's not a main flow of your bot, at least give users the opportunity to give them a way to reach out to customer service. Even if it's, hey, here's leave a message, here's our phone number, we don't have live agents. At least give them that. That's massive. And so I think that's a really good, base. And then I mean, your market research is already there. As soon as people start engaging with the bot, they're going to be inputting things unprompted, and that's all you need. That's your golden ticket as to what people are asking. Have we not, have maybe they're asking about something that the bot was trained on, but didn't put enough utterances in. So you build off of that. So I think, yeah, overall, whatever your bot flow contains, make sure users can get there using NLP, and make sure you have the basic small talks. We see it, greeting intents fire all the time, farewell, thank you, and customer service is a huge one as well. And then build from there.
Cool. I think all really great points. Now, sort of pivoting from that a little bit, for people that are entering the space or they just want to brush up on their knowledge, do you have any recommendations for resources, videos, books, conferences that you think people should go and check out?
Sure. So funnily enough, before I even got the job at MOC, I was looking through Netflix and I came across AlphaGo, the documentary. Definitely, that really got me really excited, and then lo and behold, I ended up getting a job at Master of Code. So people just starting out on the space, I know books can sometimes be hard to get into. Most of us have a Netflix account or access to a Netflix account if they don't have one themselves. Definitely watch AlphaGo. It's a couple years old now, but it's exciting just watching how powerful machine learning can be. I won't give too much away, but it is about how a company now purchased by Google trained a bot to play a very, very old but complex game called Go, and the bot played against a world champion that I don't think had ever lost. So definitely AlphaGo is really great. A book that I read very early on, again, a couple years old, but still very relevant, is called The Inevitable. That just about cognifying and screening and how we access information, how information is filtered, all very relevant today. And also, some e-newsletters out there. Trend watching is really great. Facebook IQ is good. Recast has a really nice newsletter. And then for conferences, go to Chatbot Summit, because you and I have both been there, and hopefully we'll be there again this year. So it's a great conference as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that being said, at this point, I'll just give you the stage. If you guys, at MLC have any cool announcements to share, or you already alluded to that you're going to be at Chatbot Summit, I think sometime June, July. Other than that, the stage is yours.
Sure. Well, in terms of where else we're going to be, we usually go to F8. So if you're coming to F8, definitely reach out. We'd love to have a chat. And Chatbot Summit, of course. And yeah, we always have kind of updates on Facebook of what we're doing, where we're going to be. Things that always happen quite quickly. So yeah, give us a follow and stay tuned. We have some kind of exciting things coming up. I can't say exactly what yet, but it's looking like a very busy year for us.
Cool. That's always awesome to hear. Before we let you go, I always ask all my guests this question, because just being in such an emergent space where things are changing and things are not always clear and there's ambiguity, tell me what keeps you motivated, what keeps you inspired to just keep going?
Yeah, I mean, to work in an industry, like you said, is always changing, but having the opportunity to kind of use these technologies first, or at least very early on, is so great. I mean, I never thought I'd be in a space where, I'm pitching augmented reality to like a global company, or going to F8, going to Facebook's conference, and seeing, all the cool things that their messenger platform is releasing. So definitely that never boring aspect is awesome. So I always encourage people to go into tech. For that alone is super motivating. And then, for me personally, working directly with clients, they come to us with a problem and we give them a solution. But with conversational, it's cool, it's immersive. And because it's new technology to them, that wow factor that we tend to give all the time is, and on a regular basis is, I live for that. That's so great. So yeah, definitely, the opportunity to work on some brand new things, some new technology, all the time. And then, yeah, working one-on-one with clients and, hey, launching an experience and they go, wow, or, oh my gosh, look at our sales have gone up, or we've gotten so many messages, or we've gotten really great feedback. I mean, that's the best feeling in the world.
Cool. Awesome. I love it. Amanda, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. We will definitely have you guys back again in the near future. Once you guys can share those super secret things you guys are working on. Otherwise, thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
You bet. Thanks so much, Chad. Bye.